What is going on, guys? Playoff time in the PGA. We have you covered here for DFS purposes. This is the bogey-free podcast for the Northern Trust. I am your host, Evan Cheney, today joined by my co-host, Matt Jones. How you doing today, Matt?
Not too bad, man. I'm excited. We're reunited this week, back together at last, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a good week. It's actually the tournament's like 10 minutes away from me, so
Really?
yeah. So if you're watching, you can see I have a hefty brace on my wrist. I had to go for X-rays today, so I was supposed to go to the practice round, but that didn't quite work out. And yeah, I had a little bit too much vacation on my vacation, and we're moving on. I will be on the grounds with my dad on Friday, his Father's Day gift. So I'll have a little bit of inside info for the weekend golf, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give people the weekend. You got to tweet out the weekend update.
Yeah.
For those weekend golf degenerates. A dime a dozen.
Oh yeah, you got to chase it, right?
Of course. Okay, so yeah, we have the Northern Trust at Glen Oaks Club. Now, what stats, what comparable golf courses might we be using this week to make our projections for this week's tournament?
Yeah, so we're looking at a par 70 this week. It's I think 73. Yeah, it's like a little bit over 7,300 yards. So a little bit over average, I'd say, for a par 70. Luckily for us, there are a lot of holes that are actually like in the same sort of yardage distance. There's 5 holes that are par 4s between 400 and 450, and then 5 more holes between 450 and 500. So we can sort of take advantage of that. We did a little bit of that with the US Open when we were at Erin Hills and we didn't have a lot of data for it. We sort of narrowed in on those guys. And I mean, that's how we landed on Xander that week. So it's definitely useful to sort of narrow down and not just be like, oh, this guy is good or bad at par 4 scoring, he must do well on par 70s. We can actually take a look and find some guys who, might be a little bit, I don't know, I guess underappreciated based on their overall par 4 scoring. So we're definitely looking at a little bit of a longer course. I'm weighting driving distance a little bit more than accuracy. It's going to be fast here. There's no rain in the forecast for the week. It's been a reasonably dry summer here in Long Island, so that's definitely going to play into it. I saw you smile when I said Long Island. I got it. It's all right. I know I have an accent. I'm working on it.
That's
Long Island.
That wasn't the only thing I smiled at. That was the only thing I was entertained by. I'm also entertained by DFS weather takes now.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to
It's
do
a
it,
recent
right?
phenomenon where, it's a recent phenomenon where DFS weather is now like the thing.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of annoyed actually that there isn't like a clear weather bias this week because people like fall for that too hard. Like it works out. Like how many times has it actually helped you this year? The weather twice in PGA, maybe, and really, there's been guys who have overcome that draw bias for weather also. So I'm just glad we don't have to worry about it this week. We don't have to put any attention into it. This course actually is being dubbed Augusta of the North. So yeah, so we're looking at some really not a lot of rough, really tightly mowed fringe area. So good putters, good scramblers are going to be able to make up some strokes here when they miss. But I think it's going to be a pretty forgiving course. I think the winning score is going to be reasonably low this week.
Okay. Well, that's definitely a twist on certain narratives here. So yeah, let's jump into our golfers here. We'll start with our 10K and up guys. We have Matsuyama, Fowler, Spieth, McIlroy, Johnson in this range, and it's really weird to see Hideki Matsuyama as like the top priced golfer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to argue it too,
Yeah. It is no, I'm not. No, I'm not saying it's like wrong. It's just
Right.
weird to see it.
No, I know it's crazy when you think about it because we started off the year like, oh my God, this guy has 2, 3 wins. He's been unstoppable. He's, top five every start. And then he sort of went through a lull and he seems like he's snapped right back into that crazy form. So he's all the way up to number 2 in the world right now. Actually, he's a little bit behind. He can't catch DJ, I don't think, at least not this week. But he's definitely climbed the rankings, and I mean, it's hard to argue with the guy. He has the distance for this course. He's obviously an excellent ball striker. He's pretty much the tee to green guy. But then it's just his putter is just god awful some days. Like, it's rough to watch. It's literally like when you go golfing with your buddies and they didn't get a chance to like test out the practice green and they don't know how fast the greens are. Like, that's Hideki some days.
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, I mean he's 146 in the world in putting.
Yeah, he's
That's not good.
Just terrible. But that being said, if he runs even average with his putter, I mean, you could make a case that he's one of the most difficult golfers to beat in the world. So, I don't mind. I don't mind that he's the most expensive. Obviously, he had that impressive win. He had a top 5 a few weeks ago. So, I have no problem with him.
Yeah,
I think he's probably. What's that?
No, I'm just saying, like, dude's got to be top 3 in order to justify that price tag. Do you see? I mean, it's definitely you can definitely see top 3 upside in him, but how likely is it? Is the question.
I mean,
especially if he,
I don't know,
especially if the putter might go awry. That's all.
Right.
That's really the only question I have. Right.
And that's fair. I think I don't really see his chance if you're going to set the bar at a top 3.
I mean, you have to. I'm not saying like just because he's 11,500. That's
right. No, and I agree. I'm saying if that's the bar that you set, where what are his odds of that? I think his ownership probably makes that a little bit difficult. I think he's going to be super chalk, and I think that's going to limit him. Where I'm not really that interested in him this week. But also, that being said, you can fit whoever you want in this week. So, I mean, if you firmly believe that he's going to win, I mean, then it's fine. But I'd much rather play Fowler. I would say that he has, in my opinion, the best shot to win. Like, if I had to pick a winner, I would pick him for this week.
Now, why is that?
He's been, I mean, he doesn't have the win recently, but he has the same basic form as Hideki, right? He is a much, much better putter, and he's not that far off in any other statistical category. He's a great scrambler, right? He hits greens in regulation. He has distance, plus he has some accuracy. Like, he's only a little bit shorter than Hideki, and he's way more accurate. And like I said, he's a much better putter. He scores well on these par 4s that we're looking at. And I don't know, he would be my pick just based on how I see this course playing.
Okay. That's all fair. That's all a fair assessment. Going down here, you look at guys like Jordan Spieth, McIlroy, Dustin Johnson. I mean, all of the ownerships we kind of see as tight in this area. Yeah. It's like, all of these high priced guys are definitely going to be owned.
Right.
It doesn't seem like one guy's going to stand out significantly. I mean, you and I think maybe Matsuyama might, but other than that, I mean, they all seem pretty tightly projected in terms of ownership.
Right. And that just goes to like, I don't know, for the majors this year, it's been Day, right? Day's been the guy who nobody's going to own, and he's over $10,000, and he's a good GPP play for that reason. There's nobody like that this week. There's nobody over 10K that's going to be under 15%. Like, I would be shocked if that happened, honestly. but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I trust Rory just going through the rest of these guys. It seemed like he wasn't even going to play the in the playoffs this year, and he's going to give it a go. But I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't want to pay up for a guy who has the potential to maybe withdraw, depending on how he feels. I know he's played well recently, but just one wrong swing and that rib injury can re-aggravate, and he's done. Um, so I'm not going to have 0% of him, but I am definitely going to be underweight. Spieth, you can't either because he just seems to find a way no matter what course you're on. Honestly, if I had to pick a fade out of these top 5 guys, it would be DJ. And I don't know. That's crazy because he's the number 1 golfer in the world. But I don't know. He doesn't seem completely right to me. And this is a big price tag. So I'm willing to not outright fade him, because you can't outright fade the number 1 golfer in the world. But I think it's reasonable to limit your exposure to him this week if you're a little hesitant on him.
Okay. The driving distance thing, like, he has the best driver in the world. Makes it hard to avoid him. But I can see your argument. I can definitely see where your argument comes in there. All right, so let's dip down out of that range. We'll go to the 9K and up guys. We have Stenson, Day, Thomas, Koepka, and Casey all in this range. And I don't know. I have a feeling this... Actually, no, it's not this range. I think the next range might be a little under-owned. But I don't know. Who are you feeling here is like the guy?
I mean, it's hard to get away from Justin Thomas based on how he played the last time we saw him. He has the distance here. He has the scoring on these par 4s that we're looking at that I think that he'll do pretty well here. Day's going to be pretty expensive, and I know that he's been headed in the right direction recently, but I don't know. If I had to fade somebody in the 9,000s, it would be the top 2 guys. It would be Stenson and Day, because I'm thinking that this is going to be driver heavy this week, and I don't like Stenson on a driver heavy course. I mean, truth be told, I don't really like Stenson no matter where you go, but objectively, he's not a great play on a driver heavy course. And I'll take Thomas. I'll throw a couple darts at Koepka. And I mean, Casey doesn't really have the distance that I would like to see here. And on these par 4s between 400 and 500 yards, he's 10th and 33rd in those 2 categories that I mentioned earlier. So even though he doesn't have the distance, he finds a way to score on those holes. So I'm not scared off by Casey at all. And he's been playing. I mean, he's probably put together a top 5 season this year. So I'm good with those sort of the Thomas, Koepka, Casey trio, and I'll probably just sort of spread out my ownership that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's another fair assessment there. I don't know. Anything else you really want to discuss in this 9K range?
No, we got to talk about my boy now. Did you see the smile? Cheap. Did you see the smile come across my face when I just realized who was coming up?
Yeah. Yeah, he's cheap though, like relative to where he normally is. He's 8,900, John Rahm.
Love it.
As we jump into this 8K range of guys. Yeah, I mean, talk about your BFF Rahm.
I mean, I don't understand. Realistically, I don't understand how he ended up 58th at the PGA Championship. I really thought that course was reasonably suited for him. But I think this course is even better based on his scrambling and based on what I've read from people who have been on the ground so far. If there's no rough and he's just able to do whatever he wants around the green, with his scrambling and his ability to get up and down that way, I like him a ton this week. Outside of him in the 8K range, I really like Kisner quite a bit. Um, Other than that, I mean, I know you have to play Kuchar because you know he's going to end up like T16, and at this price, that's a top outcome for him. Um, but other than that, I mean, is there anybody that you're thinking in this range besides the guys that I've mentioned? Because
Ah,
I'm not excited about anybody else. You know what I mean? Like there are
yeah.
reasonable plays, but I'm not excited.
No, it's not. It's not an exciting range, and it's definitely going to be the lowest owned tier.
Right, which makes
70.
me feel like
Yeah.
maybe I should be more excited about it, but I don't want to be.
I mean, it really depends on what you're looking at, right? Yeah, how you want to go about building the lineup. Because, if these guys are all like sub 10% owned outside of Matt Kuchar, I don't know. You have to get excited about someone.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't know, Patrick Reed might be my favorite guy out of this range.
yeah, which I think
Um,
is fair. He's definitely snapped back into some form over the past couple times we've seen him, so I think that's reasonable. Um, would you trust him in cash though?
I wouldn't. They're really, I don't know. He's just way too inconsistent right now
Yeah.
for me to say. Like, yeah, he has 19, 36, and second in his last three tournaments, but I don't know.
Before that, it was rough though,
Yeah, before that it was really bad,
like real rough.
and yeah, and I don't know. I just don't trust it in cash.
Yeah.
So I'll do it in GPPs, but that's it.
I honestly think this is now that I'm looking at this a little more, and we always say, it's Tuesday night. I haven't built any lineups yet, but as I'm looking at this and I'm sort of thinking about it a little bit more, I really think that maybe like the cash way to go is like stars and scrubs, and the GPP way to go is a little bit more balanced because it seems like these sort of 8K guys and high 7K guys aren't really being talked up too much. And I kind of, that kind of leads me to believe that there's going to be some, I don't know, I guess misplaced ownership, whether that means that it's higher or lower. I think that this is a week where you can go balanced in a GPP and really get a bunch of guys with a lot of cut equity that also have some upside.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the balanced approach might be. It'll certainly be contrarian in a tournament, right? If you're going to try to stick, two
Right.
9K guys and an 8K guy in your lineup, that's definitely going to be the contrarian move to make.
Right.
And it might work. It certainly has a path to working.
I hope so.
Yeah. Outside of that eight, I mean, is there really anyone else in this 8K range you want to
Well,
talk about? Or
your boy is here too. You're not going to mention your boy Louis?
what?
Did you?
How did I pronounce the name the other night?
I think I copied.
Lethusian. Yeah, that's
I
what I
think I
said.
CC'd you on the tweet of him singing in the jet the other night.
Yeah.
He
Him and his second places at majors.
his grand slam of runner ups. Like talk about
I mean, it's
heartbreak.
really not that bad though. Like you have to think about how hard that is.
Yeah, I guess. And he does have a win. So like
Yeah.
if he didn't actually have if he never won a major and he had that would be pretty brutal, but at least he does have one major, so that helps.
I mean, that's impressive though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Being second place. Like that, even that's difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, Louis Oosthuizen is
There you go.
yeah. See, I catch on. I catch on eventually. But no, I guess you can always make a case for Louis, but I don't know.
He just
Not
seems
this
to
week.
show up in bigger spots a lot, which I know is narrative-y, and I don't like it because I'm definitely more, at least in golf, I'm very like sort of dialed into stats being more important than narratives like 95% of the time. But like football, I'll buy into some narratives because it's fun. But golf, it's
See,
you're
neither
either
way
hitting
is it
it or you're not.
good. It's not good any way you put it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No. But again, what are you gonna do? All right. All right, let's dip down past these 8K guys. We'll go to the upper 70, everyone 76 and up. So yeah, Hoffman, Mickelson, Haas, Cantley, Chappell, Bello, Molinari, Webb, Simpson, Garrigus, Hahn, and Duffner. Is who we have here. Who are you liking here?
I
I
mean,
have my thoughts, but you go first.
well, you know who I'm gonna say first.
Wait, who's over here? Oh yeah. Oh man.
It's
No,
gotta be.
yeah,
It's gotta be Cantlay. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I
It's not
mean,
as bad as Tway. It's not as bad as if Kevin Tway were like in
how
this
dare you?
spot
Hey, he's coming up. Don't worry.
one of these
But
days.
legitimately, like, it hasn't been talked about enough. The fact that he made the FedEx Cup playoffs, having only made 8 starts this season, is like pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah. I think it's also just a flaw in the system.
Wow. I mean, he made every cut. He had a second place finish. He had a third place finish.
But
He
shouldn't you
was
play in more tournaments in order to
he
qualify for
couldn't.
the
He doesn't
playoffs?
have the the eligibility. He's not up on the priority list. So every time he's been able to play, he has, and he's made the cut every time.
So much golf politics. It's really
That's what
irritating.
happens. You get hurt, you take, some bad stuff happens to you, you take some time away and you lose all that priority on the list.
Speaking of
But
speaking of losing stuff, I just had a random thought.
oh
Who
boy.
was the one guy that had to play for his tour card earlier this season and just failed completely?
Um from the medical exemption stuff?
Yeah, it's something.
Well, Poulter screwed up, but then they realized there was like a glitch in the numbers.
Okay. No, there was
Um,
someone earlier this year. They had to like finish top something in order to keep their tour card.
yeah, I mean that
I don't know.
happens sort of like, especially in the beginning of the season. It'll happen with like the medical extensions and stuff. And everybody who's like, I don't care, I just want to listen about DraftKings is probably like throwing things at their car stereo right now. But
These just the random thoughts that I have
no,
as I
I hear
sit
you.
here. Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff is fascinating to me because when
Mhm.
I like pull up the field and figure out like why people qualified for certain fields, like this week it's cut and dry, right? This week it's the top 125 in the FedEx Cup standings. You're either in it or you're not based on how you did this season, which is like very straightforward. But some weeks it's like, oh, 5 years, like Matt Every. Matt Every gets in every tournament because he won the Arnold Palmer Invitational like 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like there's just random stuff like that gets you into regular tournaments, which is just nuts, but whatever.
I mean, it's good for them to make a living, but
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's great for
yeah,
them. It's just odd when, every
yeah.
misses like 17 straight cuts and he gets to keep playing.
That's very true. All right, so yeah, let's go back to these golfers. Cantlay.
So Cantlay's way up there for me. Kevin Chappell is also an excellent play this week. He has the distance. His his ball striking hasn't been like superb this year by any stretch. But he just manages to sort of keep getting it done in a weird way. He gets up and down around the greens. He does okay on approach, but he's not like lighting the world on fire. But I'll definitely have some Cantlay. I'll definitely have some Chappell. Nobody is talking about Bill Haas, and I kind of like him this week. I tweeted at Fanshare today, just kind of joking around about the fact that he didn't have any tags this week. And they were kind of like, oh, well, do you want us to count this as a tag? Because you just asked us, basically, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, those are the three big guys that I'm sort of looking at in this range. I have no earthly idea why Robert Garrigus is this expensive. Like, I will not be playing him under any circumstances. And I'm sure he goes out and
Not
wins the thing now because I said that. But
not good.
he
That's the thing.
shouldn't, like, he's higher up. Just wait till we get through some more of these guys. Like, he's more expensive than Finau this week. He's more expensive than Glover, Steele. Like, these are legitimately
Yeah.
world-class golfers that he's ahead of. I don't understand how that happened this
Well, no,
week.
because 10th, 5th, and 6th are his last three starts.
Yeah, but like there should be a pretty big asterisk next to those because it's like the Barbasol, which was during the Open Championship, and the Barracuda, which was like that stupid Stableford tournament. Like, nobody cares about those. Like, that's not a real thing. Like, he was playing basically against like club pros from, the country club of whoever, and like Stephen Alker and Cameron Tringali. Like, nobody was there. Like, I don't know. It just bugs me that
Yeah.
he's that expensive. If he was
Oh, yeah.
like 6,800, I'd
The
say he's a decent play.
the
But
algorithm sees that. So that's just what it is, right?
damn computers. So he's the fade. I like I overlooked Molinari. Driving distance be damned. Molinari is a great play this week. I mean, the fact that he was second at Quail Hollow should eliminate any hesitancy that you have about him. On a distance heavy course. He played well. He's a great ball striker. He's going to do well on the par threes. So I'm perfectly fine with him.
Okay. Anyone else here in the 75 to 79 range that strikes your eye?
I mean, I guess you have to mention Phil, but I'm not going to be touching him. I something's going on there that we don't know about. I can't trust him this week.
All right, so we'll drop down to 7K to 7,400. I think there's two golfers here that really stick out. Probably even more. I mean, you have Woodland, Gary Woodland. Ryan Moore is probably the guy that'll be the highest owned.
Yeah.
In this range. He seems to be the guy that's getting most talked about. And yeah, is Ryan Moore worth the hubbub this week?
I mean, if you're going to tell me that he's going to be like 15%, I don't know if I trust him to perform that well. Like, I think there are objectively better plays in this range than he is. And I agree with you. He is being talked a lot. He's going to have more ownership than a lot of guys in this range, but I'm not really, he didn't like jump out to me in any of the models I built. He didn't like, just scrolling through the names. He wasn't somebody where I was like, oh, I got to make sure I fit him in somewhere. I know he's done pretty well recently. His last three starts, he's made the cut and been right around the top 25. But I don't know. I would much rather, you're going to be super happy, but I'd much rather play Lucas Glover this week. I'd much rather play Finau this week in basically that same price, a couple $100 off. Much rather play Schauffele. Much rather play Woodland. I might even throw a dart at Johnny Vegas this week. He might. I know he missed the cut a couple weeks ago at the PGA, but I don't know. I just have a gut feeling on Vegas this week. So those are my main guys. I don't really. Nobody else is super like jump. Maybe Love Mark for the distance angle. Yeah, that's where it kind of dies for me. I'm not going anywhere near Bubba. I don't care that he's 7,300. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me in that range. Is anybody else jumping out to you? I don't know. Am I missing somebody here?
I mean, you pretty much got all the guys that I would even think of.
Right.
Right? I mean, Moore, Woodland, Finau, pretty much Glover, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, what about JB Holmes? JB Holmes, any interest there?
I mean, he's going to be super low owned, so I can see it a little bit. But I mean, he's for whatever reason in this particular, like we mentioned before, in par fours of 400 to 450 yards, he's 171st in birdie or better this year. That, I mean, that's 5 holes each day for the first 2 days where he's trying to make the cut. So you're talking about 10 holes out of 36 that he is one of the worst, like dead worst golfers on tour at that range. I don't know. That scares me off him a little bit, honestly.
Okay. I mean, he was just really a thought, but yeah,
I,
now that you say, yeah, now that you talk about like how he does on certain holes, it just doesn't. I don't know. Play really doesn't make sense a whole lot
yeah.
there. All right. So yeah, let's dip out of that 7K range. I don't think we have many other guys worth talking about there. So let's go to what? Everything below 7K.
Sure.
So let's go to these guys. Um,
There's
there's
some
definitely
egregious prices down here.
there's some really cheap guys like Nah 68 is just a tad ridiculous. I understand the recency, like the recency angle of everything, but it just seems odd that he's
I
6,800.
I think it's
Grayson
nuts,
Murray.
man.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about Grayson Murray. I'm trying to
We
have a
have to.
nice Tuesday night.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Grayson Murray.
See, we don't want to talk. Yeah, like, we don't want to talk about Grayson Murray, but he kind of forces our hand a bit, don't you think?
I mean, yeah, I guess if he wants to continue his miscut, made cut, miscut, made cut, miscut, made cut, maybe, but he's been a little up and down recently. So I'm going to have to bow out on the Grayson train this week. Especially like he's Kevin Na. He's the same price as Kevin Na.
Yeah.
Like for Kevin Na to be at this price with the way that he's again, this isn't something that goes into the algorithm of pricing. I understand that. But just looking at his basic sort of year to date, right? He's 6th and 7th in 400 to 450 and 450 to 500 yard par 4 scoring. 6th and 7th. So he's top 10 in both of those, right? He's 29th in par 3 birdie or better. He's good around the greens. He's 14th in proximity on approach. Like, what more? I know he's not the longest guy, obviously, but what more do you want? Like, he's 6,800. He's free. He's completely free. There's not a lot of golfers under 6,800 that anyone would play in any given week. Like if you start with him, you can do that stars and scrubs lineup that we're talking about in the beginning, and you can afford anybody that you want pretty much because there's other guys in this range that are great. Like Charles Schwartzel is 25th in the world and he's 6,900 this week. And he's on a string of made cuts. It's not like he's been missing cuts. I just don't understand this pricing. We say it every single week. 6,900, 6,800. There's always golfers that shouldn't be there that are. And Kevin Na's not being talked about, and I think it's a mistake. I think that I would be shocked if he was outside of, say, I don't know. I would be shocked if he was outside of the top 30. And for 6,800, that's all you really want, right? I mean, what more can you really ask for under $7,000? Right? Like, I think that's
Exactly.
a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
yeah, I mean
got all
Kevin
hot
Na.
and bothered there.
It's quite the soliloquy.
It's just stupid. Like I don't understand where
Yeah.
this comes from. Like, why is the 25th best golfer in the world like the 72nd highest price guy? You know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Brandon Grace
No,
too.
I understand. Yeah, there is some ludicrous pricing here. What about Charles Howell? Is CH3 in the mix here?
I mean, yeah, if you're gonna sit here and say that distance is important, he's 54th on tour this year, so he has enough distance here. Um, Accurate on approach. He scrambles really well. He scores on par fives, which it is a par 70, so there's only a couple, but you can make up for not being the best par three scorer if you can birdie the par fives on a par 70. So I think I think he's I think he's a great play, and I just searched for him in Fanshare, and I don't see any tags on him yet. So just fire him up. You don't even need that much of him, right? I mean, go 5% and you'll be overweight, and you have a good objective play there. So I'm good with that. Even HV3, like, he's played pretty well too. It's I guess it's the week of the thirds. They're both not projected to have a ton of ownership, and I mean, I could see him doing well here. It's a distance course. Pretty much, he just has to figure out how to putt, like, because he doesn't usually. But I like him quite a bit. And then outside of those guys that I mentioned, I don't love a ton. Like, I won't really, bang the drum for anybody here. If you want to take a shot on Russell Knox, God bless. I think pedigree-wise, he's worth a look because he is a class golfer, but he's just had an awful year. So I'm not sure how much you want to trust him. And then maybe Kokrak too. He's had a good couple of weeks here. He's had some he has some distance. Obviously, he's top 20 on tour. He's another guy that just needs to putt. So that's kind of it for me. I mean, if you want to stray outside of those guys down here, it has to be in a GPP. Like, you're not trusting anybody else in cash under, say, like 7,000.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go in this range for like in a cash game. It's hard to really dip in this range.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really is.
Yeah.
In GPPs, obviously, it's a little bit different, but I don't think here is the spot to be.
Yeah, I mean, and that being said, I don't really mind this week leaving a little bit of salary on the table. Like, it's reasonably soft pricing because, it's a smaller field than we're used to. It's only the top 125 guys. So if you want to leave like $800, $900 on the table, I have no problem with that this week.
Mm-hmm.
When the pricing is tighter, it's harder to do that, but you can fit in some really good guys like under 7,500. So don't just click on somebody to fill up the salary. Like, pick the plays that are going to make the most sense, not from a salary perspective, but from, what we've sort of talked about and whatever else you hear this week from whoever else you listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very fair advice for the week. Yeah, I guess that wraps us up.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for the Bogey Free podcast for the Northern Trust. I have been your host, Evan Cheney, with Matt Jones. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at eChaney17, at Matt Jones TFR. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Channel is Bogey Free. And make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Bogey Free podcast over there. And of course, if we're not winning all the money this week, we hope you guys do. So good luck in your contests this week.